So there's light cavalry and heavy cavalry, and breaking down units using the decimal system, 10, 100, 1,000. So there's a kind of hierarchy where you delegate authority, but to the degree there's commands, they must be followed strictly.
Yes.
So for like extremely efficient, accurate, precise deployment of these troops in the battlefield and the dynamic movement of the troops, including all the interesting tactics that were utilized, you have to have really good communication and coordination. And for that, orders must be followed.
Yes.
Is there something to speak to that? Like, how do you tune this kind of system to where everybody is working together so well?
I think the first point is the extreme loyalty of the people whom Genghis Khan chose. His kinsmen, as we said, had deserted him. His Anda was a questionable relationship, but all the others that he found were just common people, herders or hunters, very common, and they were loyal to him and never, ever revolted against him, never betrayed him. So he had extreme loyalty. And then, as you mentioned, he organized his decimal system. So the smallest unit of the army was the Arft, the squad of 10 men. They were put together, and then the head of that squad, he had total control over it. But the men knew that they were going to protect each other, and they had to come back with every member or every body. You don't leave anybody behind. So this was extremely important. So if you submit to the orders of the man in charge, you know that he's risking his own life for you also. And you know that your brother on the left and on the right is risking his life for you. The army they were organized with 5 horses, each man. They had their bow and they had a lot of arrows, as many as they could have, but they also retrieved arrows at the end of their battle. And they also would retrieve the enemy arrows. This was a great advantage, by the way, when they hit Russia, because the Russians could not use Mongolian arrows. They could knock them in their bow, but the Mongols could use Russian arrows. But so all these little things, but it's not even just the arrow. Also, they had to carry needle and thread. Every soldier had to be able to sew. And sometimes that could be a torn garment. It could be a piece of skin or a wound that somebody has. It was a very odd thing when you think about the army of Genghis Khan and they're carrying everything themselves. They don't have any pack train behind them. And that one of the things they have to carry is needle and thread in order to sew up things.
So complete self-reliance in that regard.
Yes. They also carried dried dairy products, adult, it's called, where they dry curd, and they can keep it for a couple of years even. But you dry it, and then when you need it, you can put it in a flask of water. You ride all day, it joggles up and down, boom, 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 and turns into kind of thick protein. It's said that the Mongols could easily go 3 to 5 days without ever building a fire. They had enough food there. So all these little things at the lowest level were important, as well at the highest level of his loyalty, of his men to him. And it went all the way down. Loyalty was extremely important. And he organized the army into left wing, right wing, or east and west. Mongols, the word for left is east, the word for right is west. So those 2 wings. And then in the middle was the goal, the center, this moving center that was his bodyguard and his unit in the middle. Then usually they would have a vanguard and a rear guard. And sometimes the vanguard would go out as much as 2 years in advance to clear the land, run the people away, scare them, make them go away so that the grass is left there for the army when it moves through. And they never marched the way other armies do in a line of one following the other. They would always go in long lines spread out in wings so that each horse is on its own path, you can say, but all parallel together. So they had very precise ways of doing things. And this, I think, was the secret with him. And he used the best people, but he was willing to train them as much as possible. He never punished them for what happened. So Shiki Hutuk, for example, the supreme judge, he was in command one time of a group in a battle in Afghanistan, and he lost the battle, which is very, very unusual for Mongols. And so Genghis Khan went out with him, said, okay, let's go to the battlefield together and look it over. And you explain to me what you did, and then we will talk about it. So he was very thoughtful in the way that he was training the people around him. And they knew they weren't going to be punished. It's not like these countries where the general comes back and gets executed because he lost. No, Genghis Khan knows every general is going to try 100%. And if they retreat, fine. They're saving Mongol lives. They know what to do. He respects that. So all these things like that fit together. But I think a part of it that was important for him, so he had this base from steppe warfare already, the horse, the archery, and how that all fit together. But he was very quick to embrace any kind of other technology that he saw. I think that sedentary armies, like sedentary civilizations, they get stuck in their ways. This is how we do it. And we're going to make it a little faster, we're going to make it a little bigger, a little stronger, but this is how we think. Genghis Khan had no set way to think. And when he encountered the first walled cities around 1209, after founding his nation in 1206, he went out on these raids. And I really think they were raids, not wars at first. So he went into Tangut territory of what's now northwestern China in the upper reaches of the Yellow River. So he went there, and of course the cities have walls around them. This is a man who's never encountered a wall in his life. Well, he did, but they were made out of felt. The walls around his tent are, felt walls.
Yeah, just imagine what it's like for the first time in your life seeing a wall.
Yes.
When you come from the Mongolian steppe, where there's very few even natural wall-like things.
Right. Well, they have like the wall cliffs in some places. They're familiar with that, and they can climb them, but they don't have people at the top shooting down the mountain. So he looked at everything around him, and he saw, okay, they have this river, and they have all these channels, and they're always moving water around. And like we said, for a Mongol, anything that moves is a potential weapon. Anything that doesn't move is a target. You've got moving water, you've got a standing, non-moving wall. So he said, okay, the men are going to dig a channel, and they're going to bring down the wall of the Tangut city. Well, they did it, and they didn't know exactly what they were doing, and the embankments weren't high enough, and too much water came in from the Yellow River and actually flooded out the Mongol camp. But, okay, it happened. We learned that lesson, so we're going to improve it. And that became a strategy that actually worked for the Mongols for the next 50 years, all the way to Baghdad. They were able to use it when they conquered Baghdad in 1258. So this ability to see things and to try them, and if they fail, to try them in a different way, but a better way. We all think we learn from our mistakes. We all, I learned from that. And what do? We repeat the mistake. I think it's just a part of human nature. Well, it didn't work the first 8 times, but I'm going to do it one more time. I think it's going to work. I know I'm going to win the lottery this time because I got the right. That's how we think. But he had that real ability to, first of all, to be humble before these other things he didn't know about, technology, and to understand that he didn't understand, but he could understand it in his own way. And he did. Over and over, the Mongols were excellent at putting together new things in new ways and using them against their enemies.
So rapid, extreme, continued innovation. So you couple that with you have to say a revolutionary idea that promotion should be based on merit. That idea, combined with the innovative approach to the military, it just feeds on itself, because the people who are learning from their mistakes and constantly improving are the ones that get promoted in the positions of power, and then they inspire everybody else to do the same. And so it's just, if every action is judged based on the excellence of that action, then over time, repeated iteration in war creates a more and more powerful army.
Yes. And they were able to do that for 3 generations, to create an army that was ever expanding, ever changing its tactics and its technology. And they got worse at it over time. But Genghis Khan was the one who innovated it. He was the best with it. And he used it throughout his lifetime. And he was getting better over his lifetime with using foreign information, foreign technology, foreign ideas. He just had a genius for that.